Hey loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb live. For those of y'all who are new to my channel, I am a self-love coach who specializes in helping people radically transform their lives through one-on-one coaching. I am the proof, y'all. I have been through toxic relationships, came out on the other side and came out better, and have learned from my mistakes. I don't repeat the same mistake twice with a man. And I also did not like how my life was going at the beginning of the year, developed a plan, and in 6 months, I moved to Colombia. So I'm coming at y'all live from Medellin, Colombia, which is why y'all might hear a little noise in the background because there is a salsa restaurant downstairs from me, and they are blasting those corridos right now. Like, you would think it was a whole bunch of drunk men down there. They probably are drunk because all they do is sit up at that restaurant and drink all day. But yeah, guys, so if you are interested in that type of help, that type of coaching, if you just need somebody to put you up on this game, if you go back in my videos in the past, I give real good game. So if you need anything like that, hit me up at the passportsis@gmail.com. I have my coaching sessions for $30 an hour. So I told y'all I'm not trying to hit y'all over the head. Okay. With that said, as y'all come in, please hit that like button. If you've been watching me and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe. Guys, I understand that the topic that I'm going to be talking about, people have their emotions and their feelings tied up into it. I understand. Society and the conversation around this is geared towards you having your feelings wrapped up in this. But I want to have an intelligent discussion. I want to have a logical discussion. I ask that during this discussion, you be self aware. If you feel yourself getting angry or upset or wanting to call people names, then I want to ask that before you do that or while you're doing that, that you ask yourself why. Okay. This is a free speech channel. I welcome dissent. I will ask that you keep the cussing and the name calling to a minimum. Not particularly because I care or my feelings are going to get hurt, but because I don't want the YouTube algorithm picking up on that and my channel getting flagged for anything. And again, if you feel the need to name call, I want you to ask yourself why, and is that the most intelligent thing to do? Because a lot of times you can read somebody for the choices that they make without even having to call them a name. And again, it's just make sure whatever you have to say, it's well thought out. Even if you do name call, like be able to back it up is what I'm trying to say. I want to be clear on what this is and what this isn't. This is not me trying to convince anybody to become a Republican. I am not a Republican. I am independent. I describe myself as politically homeless. Okay. So this is not me trying to convince anybody to go out and vote for Donald Trump next month. This is not a defense of Donald Trump. And this is not necessarily an attack on Kamala Harris so much as it is an attack on the institutions that uphold her and the reasons why they do. Do y'all understand? This ain't really, when I start getting into it, y'all are going to see this ain't even really about Kamala Harris. Because if it wasn't Kamala Harris as the vice president and this situation I'm going to talk about, it would have been somebody else. This is about principle. Do you believe in democracy or not? Okay. So I'm going to wait for some more people to get in here. Again, if you're already in here, hit the like button. Y'all interact in the comment section. That helps me keep the conversation going and flowing. The reason why I'm having this conversation is because I was looking, I'm always looking for a job, even though I got one. But I was looking on a job board yesterday, and I'm actually going to send the screenshots to myself that I took. And these are virtual jobs. So these are all like virtual. This was on virtual vocations, and they had job posted specifically for you to spread propaganda. I'm gonna send these in an email to myself so that y'all can see, so it doesn't look like I'm just up here talking and blowing smoke out of my butt. But it is people's job to spread propaganda to get people in their feelings and sway the emotions of the public and public perception. And it absolutely disturbed me. It absolutely blew my mind. I'm sending the pictures to myself, and again, we have some time. I'm still waiting on people to get in here before I get to the heart of the matter. Also, guys, if you can, go ahead and share my live. Let people know I'm on. All right. So I'm sending these pictures to myself so that I can show y'all exactly what I'm talking about and how they work to try to manipulate us. And that's why I say this is not a conversation about choosing a party. This is a conversation about understanding who your enemy is. Okay. And guess what? Kamala Harris ain't even the enemy. But I'm gonna get into this. This is why I said I posted on my story. This is going to be a high IQ, high intellectual conversation. Okay. Give me 1 second. When I read to y'all these job descriptions, your jaw is gonna drop. My even knowing all the stuff I know, my jaw dropped. Hey Olivia, how are you, girl? I feel they're all puppets anyway, but they have an agenda already, and they're just trying to see who will be the face of said agenda. Girl, you got it. But you know, most people who are smarter than everybody will say that you're a conspiracy theorist for saying that. And that's because they believe that conspiracies work like this. Everybody gathers in a room and they all agree to tell the same lie. And that's not how that works. It's not, it's far more simple than that. Okay. That's not how it works at all. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. It's good to see you here, sis. I'm going into my email right now so I can download these photos. Or you know what? I can just do them like this. Okay. So the reason that made me say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do a live because I'm fed up is these pictures I'm about to show y'all. Now, for those of y'all who didn't know, I tried to start my YouTube channel when I was pregnant with my daughter, like a long time ago. This was like in 2015. But at the time, I was super emotional. I don't think I would have even been ready to talk about the content because at the time I wanted to just do politics. But I realized it is emotionally overwhelming to talk about politics. And at that time, I would have been the person responding to every single negative, rude comment somebody had to say about me. Whereas now, I don't even like when y'all, if y'all go on some of my other posts and y'all see the crazy stuff people say, like rude. I'm not talking about disagreeing with me, I'm saying being blatantly rude and insulting me. I don't even respond to them because I really don't care. But I'm learning I shouldn't do that because of engagement. So now I'm just gonna like the comment. So there, you gonna get some of the attention that you want. And that's just for algorithm purposes. But anyway, I wanted to do politics. And at that time, I was a Democrat because I was studying political science in college. and I was really interested in it. I was interested in it so much so that I got tired of us reading like the same four people in every class that we took about politics, even the higher level classes. It was like if you were going to read about politics, they only it only was Western political ideology, and it was like Hobbes or Locke or Machiavelli. You know, they would talk about communism. They would talk about Marx. They would talk about Engels. They might bring up Confucius, but we were never allowed to, like, no teacher, professor ever assigned us for us to read those books. Y'all understand? So it got to the point where I was like, well, why are we just talking about these people, but we're not going in depth in our study of them? So, and we're doing this in every single class, so that raised red flags for me. I was like, are these professors at these universities not allowed to assign us any readings on Eastern political ideology or anything that opposes the ideology that this country was founded on? So what I did is I actually start went on my own and started reading and researching. I learned in depth about the revolution that took place in Russia. I studied that till I couldn't study it anymore. I learned about the Khmer Rouge. I learned about how China and their communist movement. And I mean, I studied these. I studied Cuba. I studied Venezuela. I studied these things until I couldn't study them anymore. And the conclusion that I came to is that people who want power will exploit the ideology of the working class people in order to ultimately be on top. It does not matter if you call the thing uh capitalism. It does not matter if you call the thing communism, right? What these people ultimately want is totalitarianism, where the government is in full control, right? And when I say, and I don't even want to say the government, when you have the people who pull the strings of it is in full control. Now, how it works here in the United States is they have sense enough to give us an illusion of control, but we have far less democracy here than what we had 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And even if you go back then, you will see and do in-depth study and research, you will see attacks on things like free speech. Do y'all understand? So you can call it what you want to call it, but ultimately, when somebody wants power, they will completely co opt a movement and figure out how to make it work in their favor. I don't care where it's at. Now, I was a Democrat in college. The turning point for me began when there were talks about the United States lifting the embargo against Cuba. For those of y'all who don't know, Cuba had a revolution. They didn't start off as like a communist country. As a matter of fact, for a long time, Fidel Castro didn't even say he was communist. That was the label the United States put on us or put on them. And because of the embargo, Cuba was forced to turn to the Soviet Union for help, right? Um, for financial aid and financial help. And at that time, we were in a Cold War with them. Now, since then, the Soviet Union has fallen. That relationship is not as strong. And then you have elements of capitalism that have been introduced into Cuba. Now, the narrative of the Cuban Revolution, it has always been negative here in the United States. And the reason being was the reason for the revolution is that in Cuba, it used to be the playground of the rich. It used to be the playground of the mafia. That's where rich people would go and gamble. And that's where they had the casinos. The men would go there and buy Cuban women. You know, they would spend the evening with them. It was like a playground for them, right? You had all of these American corporations who had businesses in Cuba. Again, guys, if y'all are coming in, please hit the like button. I know this is tedious. Again, this is a highly intellectual conversation. If you find these things boring, you're more than welcome to tune out. I understand. Hey, Skinny. Okay, great. So what happened is you had Fidel Castro and a lot of other people who agreed with him, but you'd be very surprised that I can't even get into it now. You'd be very surprised at how small that revolution was. They basically used the media to present this illusion of power before they actually overtook the dictator that was in place then. So what ended up happening is Fidel Castro decided we're going to take the property and we're going to take the business of all the wealthy Cubans. Now, if you know the history of Cuba, you know that they had a lot of slavery there, right? So Cuba is a very melanated place, guys. And this is what I try to explain, especially to a lot of African American people. There are countries in Latin America where they don't look like a Mexican do. Mexican people do. Y'all understand? They're not mainly of Indian and Spaniard descent. You go and you see the people very much are Afro Latina. And then in the case of Cuba, the business owning class were primarily white Cubans, guys. And again, this is not necessarily me trying to race bait anybody, but when I talk about this, I can't negate race. It's gonna make sense. So after you had the Cuban Revolution, a lot of the white Cubans who had their property taken decided to relocate to Miami, right, to Florida, and there they took their money, they established businesses. That is why Cubans in Florida behave the way that they do, guys. That's why Cubans in Florida are not broke. That's why Cubans in Florida vote Republican. That has always been the mindset, even before they got here. That's why Cubans in Florida had a financial interest in bashing the revolution every opportunity they got. And this is also not a defense of Fidel Castro, because I certainly have my critiques of him. But what I will say is, after the Cuban Revolution, Cubans had more say over their own destiny. They had a right to self determination. You had Black people in Cuba getting access to childcare that they never got access to, guaranteed childcare. Everybody was guaranteed a home, everybody was guaranteed a job. And whether you do or do not agree with that type of economic situation, it for the most part was a come up for people of color in Cuba. There are other problems. There was other mismanagement that was had. I'm not going to get all the way into it. But again, I believe that things would have went differently if they would not have had an embargo on them. So the goal of the United States was to make sure that this country did not succeed economically. Now, once the talks of these embargoes happened when I was in college, the embargo being lifted, I was on the I was in a club like the Democrats. You know, I would go out and, hey, y'all vote, oh, are you registered to vote? And we were having a conversation, and I already knew what I knew about Cuba. And at the table, one of the members said, well, it's good they're going to lift the embargo, so now that we can introduce capitalism and more US businesses into the economy. And I looked at the girl and I said, why 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 does the benefit have to be a benefit to us and not the benefit of the Cuban people? Like, why do we automatically, when we say we're going to lift the embargo, why are we automatically thinking, okay, now we get to impose our system on these people? Why can't it be now they'll have the right to choose and decide and self-determination versus trying to introduce US businesses there? That was the whole point of the revolution to begin with. Like, lift the embargo and let the people decide what they want to do with their economy. So everybody completely disagreed with me. They had no clue about Cuba and the politics and the history. I realized all these people do is sit up and regurgitate what they hear on mainstream news. It was only one other girl who came to me afterward. She was too scared to speak up and say, yes, I did my research too. Like, I read about this too. And I was confused by what they were saying too. And that's when I realized, wow, maybe this is not, the Democrats have always champion themselves as the voice and the advocates of the working class people, but maybe this is not what that is. And over time, my ideology slowly began to change. Around that same time, you get 2016, Bernie Sanders is running for president against Hillary Clinton and is poised to beat her for the Democratic nomination, right? And then they snatched the nomination from him at the convention. Then we fast forward to 2016. Bernie Sanders runs again, but this time Elizabeth Warren runs and she has the right to run. But it became apparent to me that as that primary progressed, her role was to be the spoiler against Bernie Sanders because they had already chosen Joe Biden, right? So you had Iowa. That was the first primary. You had Iowa and that whole scandal that took place with the electronic system for voting that Pete Buttigieg was involved in. Okay, so then you had Bernie win those first three primaries. Come Super, I think it was either Super, it's called Super Saturday or Super Sunday. Obama, y'all boy, made calls. Everybody dropped out all at one time. They were promised cabinet positions. I'm not lying, because everybody that dropped out of the race got a position when Joe Biden became president. Okay. The only person that stayed in was Elizabeth Warren. So you had Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden. Mind you, Kamala Harris was doing terrible. She dropped out before that Super Saturday because she knew she wasn't going to win. Okay. So again, she was not a likable person to the American people then. We would never support her in a primary. I'm going to show y'all the reason why she started doing terribly is because Tulsi Gabbard cleaned her clock in a debate. I'm going to show y'all this. So you had Elizabeth Warren stay in, and they basically kind of split. I don't even want to say split the progressive ticket, because all Elizabeth Warren did was take some votes away, enough votes away from Bernie Sanders to where it made Joe Biden look popular, right? After that, she drops out of the race, and the rest is history from there. Like, Joe Biden becomes the nominee. He was always gonna be the nominee, but it was all the games in play that happened during that primary that made me finally decide I'm never going to vote in a presidential election again unless I genuinely believe that these people are acting in good faith. And I have seen no evidence to support that has happened. Okay, let's fast forward to this past election. Now, we said in 2020, people like myself, there were people all over the internet saying Joe Biden has dementia. What did the people say though? What were the the diehard party loyal Democrats saying? Right? The college educated, the college educated white people, the college educated middle class, your black excellent people. What were they saying to people like me? You're not a doctor. You can't give a diagnosis. That's all just propaganda. Meanwhile, we are watching this man lose his mind. You could compare videos to him 4 years previous when he was campaigning with Obama and doing all these interviews and doing these debates, and how Joe Biden used to be sharp. Do you understand? We had something to compare it to. And people were saying that people like me were crazy conspiracy theorists. Okay, fine. He gets elected. We don't see him that much. We don't see him. They hide him away. He don't do a lot of talking. You get the sickness that was going around. The economy goes to hell. He tells people he doesn't intend to do anything about it. And for y'all who say, "Oh, well, the president doesn't have that much control over the economy," bullshit. Bullshit. Presidents can do a lot. Let's go back to the 1930s and the Great Depression, guys. Before Franklin D. Roosevelt became the president, you had what's his name? Herbert Hoover, who was the president. See, I know these things, guys. I minored in history. I taught history. So I'm not just on here talking and I don't know. So Herbert Hoover was the president, and he basically took the same stance as Joe Biden took, that he wasn't going to do anything during the Depression. And the government did absolutely nothing. They let it all go to hell in a handbasket. So much so that people were building shacks and shanty towns outside of New York, and these places were called Hoovervilles. Do y'all understand? But the people got so sick and tired that when FDR ran, he won by, it wasn't even close. Do y'all understand? People were tired and they wanted change. But back then, we had a system where you could run and you could run on these progressive ideas and you didn't have a whole machine working against you. Back then, we had real presidents, guys. And he came in, and from there on, we get the Public Works Acts. We get the Civilian Conservation Corps. We get Social Security, right? Social Security didn't exist until Franklin D. Roosevelt became the president. We get the Tennessee Valley Act. So many people went to work for the government and were able to feed their families, guys. We get a lot of these so-called entitlement programs. The projects began to get built. And I know a lot of people don't, they have their criticisms of how what the projects turned out to be and how they were managed. But at that time, it was needed because people were starving. People were hungry. They were poor. They could not feed their kids. And I'm a firm believer that certain eras and periods of time call for certain action. And when we are in another one of those periods of times, and the Biden administration has chosen to do nothing about it, and not even to suggest anything as radical as that. Do y'all understand? And y'all could say, oh, the Republicans are going to work against them and whoop-de-whoop. It doesn't matter. Bring it to the table and fight for it. Now, I'm sorry, y'all. And I know I'm getting deep. Y'all hit that like button because this is really what I'm passionate about, y'all. So you basically have Joe Biden and the Kamala Harris administration saying they're going to let it all go to hell in a handbasket. And as the economy is getting worse and worse, telling the American people it is getting worse because of the policies that Donald Trump put in place while he was president, guys. And this is the problem I have with both parties. There's always a passing the buck and a lack of personal responsibility and accountability. I don't give a damn who ruined it. Fix it. Fix it. That's your job. Your job is not to BS the first 4 years of your term, not get anything done, and then come to us and say, vote for me again, because if you vote for me a second time, I'll do all the things that I couldn't do the first term because everybody else was holding me back. See, they did that with Obama. At one point, Obama had the House and the Senate and had a super majority, right? And when he had the opportunity to pass all these initiatives that he campaigned on, he didn't do anything. Yeah, we get reform in healthcare, but it's still trash because basically what they did is they placated to and they worked out all these deals with big pharma and the insurance agencies, and at the end of the day they still ended up winning, not the American people. Obama campaigned on change, but if he really was about that life, then while he had the opportunity, he would have aggressively fought for everything he said. When it came time to address the recession that happened in 2008, instead of bailing out the American people, President Obama decided to bail out the banks while millions and millions of Americans lost their homes. But we're not supposed to say that. We're not supposed to talk about that because we race loyal. Okay, he's the first black president. And we can't critique him because to critique him is taking the side of racist Caucasians. And guess what? All other Caucasians who see this and speak up about it, it's not because they have an intellectual thought that they're able to process these things in an intellectual way. It's because they're racist. That's the narrative, guys. It's because they're racist. And if you have a critical thought or any critique of anybody that is African American and it holds a political position, then you are a coon. And this is what these people have brainwashed us and convinced us of, so much so that the vast majority of y'all don't even question these things. They're allowed to take place and happen, and these people play in your face. And each time they put a narrative on TV, your thoughts change as the TV change. Your thoughts change with the narrative of CNN or CSNBC or MSNBC. I'm sorry, guys, if you're coming in, hit the like button again. I'm not trying to hurt any feelings today. I'm just speaking facts, guys, because I genuinely care about us. I genuinely care about the people. I'm not race loyal, party loyal, or politician loyal. Do y'all understand? It is about us and our right to self-determination. Fast forward, we get to this past primary, right? There was a primary that took place, guys. There are people who ran against Joe Biden. Okay, Marianne Williamson, she also ran in the 2016 election. RFK, okay, those were the main two. But the mainstream media outlet, MSNBC, wouldn't let them on their channel. CNN wasn't doing any interviews with them. The strategy was, don't give any of these people validation. So meanwhile, while Democrats are starting to see that didn't see before, Joe Biden has dementia. Something is not right there. Oh my God, we're in trouble. I wish we had somebody else to run against Donald Trump. Meanwhile, you have several people that are ready and willing to receive the Democratic nomination and who are actually putting in the work to do it. But you get the people brainwashed by mainstream media. We don't have anybody else to run against Donald Trump. We're in trouble. We're going to lose. No, you're not. There's a whole primary going on. Act now. So you get RFK and Marianne Williamson and gang getting sabotaged. Okay. You had certain states where they couldn't even get on the ballot. Do you understand? The primary comes and goes. Of course, Joe Biden is the nominee. Now, everybody knew Kamala Harris and them, they're around them. She goes to the White House and is around Joe Biden frequently, more than us. She knew more than us. This man ain't right in the head. The people in the Democratic National Committee, they know more than us that Joe Biden is not right in the mind. We only speculate based on what we see in these public appearances, but they know. This whole time they know. And they plot against us. They let the primary come and go. Instead of saying to the American people, this man is not right in the head, he's not mentally intact to be president, let us give you, the people, the opportunity to choose. And Kamala Harris can run in a primary if that's what she so chooses to do. What they decide is to let the primaries come and go. And a few months before the election comes, they pull a coup, a political coup, and say that Joe Biden is no longer running for president. He's no longer the nominee. It's gonna be Kamala Harris. They don't even say, hey, let's try to have another primary, even though we don't have any time. They give it to her. They give it to her. And you got the same people who will sit up and say that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And I'm not saying that he is or he isn't. To be honest, I don't care about him. But you got the same people who are saying that it is imperative that Kamala Harris wins because if Donald Trump becomes the president, we are no longer going to have democracy. Voting for, campaigning for people to vote for somebody who stole the nomination. She was not in any way democratically elected. And then you have people saying, well, she was democratically elected because we voted for Joe Biden and she ran as his vice president. And if something were to happen to him and he passed away, she become the vice president. She become the actual president. Well, guess what? I would agree with that if it was a situation where he had now during his term he had to step down and she become the president, or he passed away and she had to become the president. That does not apply to new terms. Do you understand? When you have a new term, that rule no longer applies. You must be democratically elected. So you can in one breath say that you're defending democracy and freedom, and in the next breath uphold a candidate who pulled a political coup, and not on her own, guys. This was always the plan. Okay, so again, this is not an attack on Kamala Harris per se. She didn't orchestrate this on her own. She couldn't have done any of this without plans of the people who are really important and really pulling the strings being laid and orchestrated. She's just the person who got in position. Y'all understand? She's just the person that was willing to play ball. But if she wasn't the vice president, it would have been somebody else. And that's why I'm saying this is not an attack on Kamala Harris. It is an attack on the people that uphold her. It is an attack on the people who, instead of actually letting us have real freedom and democracy in this country, would rather sell us the illusion of democracy and freedom and have you pitted against your friends and your family. They tried to sick Obama on black men because of how bad Kamala is looking. That's another thing, guys. So these people aren't dumb. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting upset. I'm getting upset because I truly believe in democracy. I truly believe in the workers owning the means of production. I truly believe in the right of a people to have self-determination. Okay, so you have, everybody knows there's this gender war going on uh YouTube, on the internet. Everybody, y'all think they don't know? Y'all don't think that they don't orchestrate a little bit of this? Y'all don't think that they don't push a lot of this via the algorithm? And I'm not saying that a lot of the stuff that's being said on the internet doesn't have any truth or merit to it. I'm not saying that people don't have real grievances based on what they're experiencing in everyday life, but you have people who are taking this as an opportunity to exploit that. So what is the narrative around black men now? Again, if you're just coming in, please hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on. The narrative around black men is that they're uneducated, unintelligent, anti-intellectual, right? And to be honest, the more and more I observe, the more and more I see that ain't a gender or a race thing. You got most people in this world functioning at a low IQ level. Most people in this world who are followers. Most people who only want to support information as long as it validates their own biases. Okay. But you got black men who are carrying that perception alone during this election. So yeah, they tried to sick black men on Obama, but black men have a right to look at Kamala Harris and question her intentions. I'm going to pull up this video, right? This is the video that they need to be showing on mainstream news, but they won't. And hopefully I can still find it. Give me 1 second, guys. Again, if you're coming in, hit the like button. I'm sorry if I'm getting overly emotional right now. I don't mean to be, but it really irritates me. I hope good. I can still find it. I can still find it. Now, um, this is on Tulsi Gabbard's YouTube channel. So hopefully YouTube won't flag me from it. It's not like on from CNN's channel. Um, yeah, period. Yeah, there's no solutions. They tried to sickle. Okay, I already read that. So effing insulting. Tired of this elite class playing in our faces like we aren't capable of seeing through the BS. Thank you so much, Liveless Aaron. This is my first time seeing you here. But yes, I agree with that. And that's why my message and my agenda is always going to be know your enemy. Know your enemy. Stop insulting each other. Know your enemy. Come to the table with each other. All right, so I'm going to show y'all this debate between Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris. Now, the Dems have went on this huge smear campaign against Tulsi Gabbard. I certainly have some critiques against her on my own, but she told no lies right here. Now, mind you, before this debate that I show you, know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were running against each other for the nomination in the 2020 election. So before she became the vice presidential nominee, he was every racist in the book, right? She got on him for his crime bill, school busing. She was taking every opportunity at these debates to throw shots at him. Now, me personally, if I feel like genuinely, as a person of whatever you want to call it, if you want to call me black, you want to call me biracial, I really don't care. My mother is black. I am who I am. Some people get offended if I say I'm black. Some people get offended if I say that I'm biracial. Who cares? Okay. Now, I would never accept a vice presidential nomination from somebody who I genuinely felt was too racist to be president. Okay. But this was all games in play. So in this debate, before this video that I'm about to show y'all, Kamala kept throwing shots at Joe Biden, right? Because in her mind, this was her only competition. She's so focused on him, she don't even see Tulsi Gabbard coming at her. And we're going to see what happens, what gets said, and how this woman handles it. And you tell me if you believe that this person could be the president of any country, let alone the United States of America. You tell me if she's ready to deal with the smoke that's going to come with dealing with other world leaders.
Making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on a floor.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
And I believe it because she always giggling and laughing and acting like some a game or funny when she gets asked a serious question.
She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
Okay. So she blocked evidence that would have freed a man from death row. Weren't Black people just on the internet going ham about an innocent man getting unalived on death row a couple weeks ago? And you got this woman trying to block evidence because it came out of her office and she don't want to be wrong. She don't want to be held accountable for getting it wrong and valuing another human being's life enough to say, let's do right by this person. Put my ego aside. Let's do right by this person. Let's continue. Okay, but we got to vote for her because she Black. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Let's keep going.
She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she
Weren't y'all just marching about against police brutality? Wasn't in 2020 we taken to the I marched. I ain't even gonna hold you. I did. Weren't we taking to the streets in behind George Floyd? Weren't we giving our coins to Black Lives Matter and wearing these Black Lives Matter shirts? Let's keep going.
fought to keep cash bail
Congresswoman.
system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why.
Okay. And I'm gonna let her finish. Not one time did she say Tulsi Gabbard was lying. Not one time did she deny the claims that were made. Not one time did she try to clear up any misconceptions about claims that were made. All she's doing right now is basically ad hominems, trying to attack Tulsi Gabbard and say she don't be doing nothing, she ain't about nothing, she just be bumping her gums. When that is not true, if you know the history of Tulsi Gabbard. So again, this is that political equivocating. You saying all she does is give fancy speeches. Y'all are politicians. Y'all job is to give speeches. That's part of your job. So what you giving a speech right now?
We created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case.
Okay, now you got Kamala Harris asking for our vote. You got the Democratic Party trying to shame us into voting for Kamala Harris when they are in a position, which is right now, when they are in a position to do something about the pain and suffering going on in our country, they have chosen to not do anything while promising to do something if we give them a vote. Do y'all know how crazy that sounds? You know how crazy that sounds? That's like you being in a relationship with somebody who's done nothing but be unsupportive and a cheater for like 4 years. And they tell you without any evidence or proof, if you stay with me for another 4 years, I promise you, I'm going to do right by you. Promise you, I'm going to do the things that I've been telling you I'm going to do, but ain't did yet. I promise you. We all know how that goes. Let me get into some of these comments. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm on a roll today. We need each other. It's time for the people to join hands. Yes, this is not about race. This is not about region. This is about truth. This is about us respecting that at the end of the day, we all want the same basic things. Like John F. Kennedy said, we all want clean water. We all want fresh air. We all want the ability to raise our children and earn a respectable living for ourselves, right? We want the ability to enjoy our time here on this earth. And the focus needs to be, how can we get to that, right? And it's never going to be perfect, but we're never going to get there as long as we are pointing the finger at each other and not the actual problem. The whole FEMA fiasco was a big slap to the face, too. They're threatening to lock up volunteers in North Carolina trying to save survivors, and they're confiscating donations. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. And these are people who are saying, let's not wait on the government. Let's come together. Let's not be dependent on the government for the cleanup. Let's pull our resources as a people. Because you know what? When we start pulling our own resources and coming together, then we realize we don't really need them for too much. I'm not saying we don't need them at all. I'm saying we don't need them for too much. We don't need them so much that we paying all these taxes that we're paying that's just getting stolen, misappropriated, and sent overseas. Anyway, once we start realizing we can do this as a community and together, they're in trouble. Hey, Big Money Politics, good to see you here. Just using our crisis we deal with against us, suffering as currency, they need to be decisively dealt with. I agree. Because they are for privilege and hierarchy, not justice and equality. Exactly. Please do. Thank you. Her neck looks like a balled up homework. Leave her. You know, back in the day, she actually used to be really, really beautiful. Now, a lot of people are getting mad because you got some of these white men who were getting on TV saying Kamala Harris got to where she got to because back in the day, she was giving that her twat. Basically, they're alleging that she slept her way to the top. And people are saying, oh, that's them trying to over sexualize a black woman. But honestly and truly, I've never seen an intelligent thought come out of Kamala Harris's mouth. Not enough for me to be like, this woman should be president. I've never seen her. I've never heard her say anything that was truly insightful and inspirational. So I'm not impressed. I don't care what degree she's had. I don't care what position she's held. I've never listened to Kamala Harris or seen anything that she's done and thought competent. So it ain't merit that got her to where she is. I don't know if she was actually giving her twat back in the day. She was real fine. I'm not gonna play like she wasn't. She looked good, right? And I ain't even gonna bash her if she used what she had to get what she wanted. But it got to be something else because it ain't this up here. It ain't this. It's not her ability to speak. Because when you get a real big stepper, a real big dog like Tulsi Gabbard on her, she fold. All right, as y'all will see as we continue. This woman is a walking caste system. Exactly. They will only blame the Republicans. Exactly. And a lot of people think because I get on the Democrats so bad, a lot of people mistake me for a Republican. To be clear, I've never in my life went to a voting poll and voted for a Republican. Every time I have went to a voting poll, I've always voted Democrat. As I've gotten older and more mature, I've seen things differently. I still haven't went and voted for a Republican. Do y'all understand? Not that I wouldn't. If I feel like it made sense, I would. Right? But I critique the Dems so hard because I grew up around it. Like that's what's so culturally embedded into my community. And it frustrates me that we can't see the game that's being run on us. Facts. Okay, all right. Thank you, skinny boy. Yes, I want to thank all of y'all. Let me continue. I'm sorry, I know I got a lot to catch up on. I will catch up on y'all comments. Let me finish this video. So we're gonna let Kamala finish.
Case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is.
But it wasn't about whether or not you are or are against the death penalty. She's talking about an incident where you could have saved a man from the death penalty, but you chose not to. You did not. You wanted to block evidence to overturn the conviction. That is the issue here. Not whether or not you do or do not support the death penalty. And again, she's never going to say in this conversation that she did not try to block that evidence from coming forth.
Is my background. That is my work.
And I'm saying this is the type of games that they play. And if you're not paying attention, if you're listening because you want a particular person to win the debate or to be right, you're not going to hear it. You're not going to hear it.
I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually.
Y'all both on the stage giving your opinions. Before this, she was just giving her opinion on Joe Biden. So all of this trying to demonize Tulsi Gabbard for being on the stage and giving a fancy opinion. Weren't you just giving a fancy opinion on Joe Biden before the conversation became about you? All right.
Actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that, and I am proud of those decisions. Sure.
Okay. So, and that's what I'm saying. They really, somebody should have sticked Tulsi Gabbard on her this election season, but she not gonna debate. She ain't never gonna be in the same room with Tulsi Gabbard again. The way Tulsi Gabbard lined her up on that stage, okay, and took no prisoners. Yeah, I can't stay long myself, but had to catch a live and show love and support to keep doing this thing. We need our voices privileged. Thank you so much, Lilith. I appreciate you. All right, and I'm not going to be on here too long, guys. I'm going to get off of here soon. Just give me a minute. I just did a video clowning Kamala, blackmail agenda policy. She just came up with a month before the election. Yeah, do y'all notice how? So Time Magazine. Let me see if I can find it on my Instagram because I saved it. Time Magazine just blasted her because Kamala Harris will not go do a sit-down interview with Time Magazine. Notice she's not doing a long-form sit-down interview alone with anybody. I remember the first interview that she actually sat down and did, she had Tim Walz with her to run interference. But a lot of the reasons why, for example, Kamala Harris would never do an interview on Joe Rogan's platform, because first of all, he's not going to let you dictate how long you going to sit there and talk to him. You going to talk to him as long as you need to get to the point of the matter, and he's not going to let you tell him what you can and cannot ask, what he can and cannot ask you about. So you see, at least Donald Trump, and again, I'm not trying to say he's any better than her, but at least Donald Trump is going on these YouTubers' channels and doing at least an hour interview. I don't know if there's things that they can and cannot ask him, but at least he's not sitting back acting like he's not obligated. And from what I'm hearing, from what Elon Musk, who is good friends with Joe Rogan, has said, and it's yet to be seen, but we'll see that the interview between Joe Rogan and Donald Trump is going to happen. And a lot of Dems have tried to demonize Joe Rogan and say that when he'll tell you he's never voted Republican in his life. But you can see his thoughts and opinions are changing just for him questioning things. He is a far right, outright person, right? When if you actually listen to the things this man says, he's nothing of the sort. So the reason why they haven't been able to get a debate is because Donald Trump thought he was going to tell Joe Rogan how long he was going to do the interview, and Joe Rogan said no. Now that we're getting closer to the election, maybe Donald Trump has changed his mind, but it's out there. Elon Musk said that debate is going to happen. Joe Rogan hasn't confirmed, but it just might. All right. Give me 1 second. Now, Time Magazine blasted her because she's refusing to do an interview with them. And guess where she is doing interviews on? The Breakfast Club. There's such a campaign and agenda to brainwash us. Right? Why you won't do Time? Why you won't go on Time Magazine's platform and do an interview? Why you so focused on us? Why you so focused on telling us that you wash your collard greens in a bathtub, which is nasty, by the way? You going on the Breakfast Club? It's like, why are we the targets? And I guess the better question is, why are we buying into it? Why are we feeding into it? Hey, DJ Batman, good to see you here. Hey, Jamal Johnston. Tulsi is who I wanted to win in 2020 and who I want to win in 2028. She might run again. She might run again. We'll see. By the way, glad to be here with you. Thank you for coming. Thank all of y'all for coming. I'm with Jill Stein for 2024 or the couch. You know what, Jamal, and people will try to demonize you for not going to the poll. And this is the thought process. Well, if you don't vote, any vote for anybody else that's not Donald Trump is a vote for Donald Trump. So if you don't go vote for Kamala Harris, you're voting for Donald Trump. No, that's not how that goes. The person who I vote for, that's who I'm voting for, baby. I'm not obligated. I'm not obligated. Okay. If you choose that's why we're not able to get out of this binary system of two parties, because they convince you every election that if you don't vote for a particular candidate, you're voting for another candidate. When we're like, there are other countries around the world where they have a multi-party system, guys, where it's not just two parties that they have the options to choose from. There are other systems that work better than the system that we have in place, but we've been brainwashed into this binary thinking. Hold on. Do you believe, hey SL, do you believe the attempts on the Orange Man were authentic? I don't know, SL. And I'm giving my genuine and true opinion. I don't know. And I've talked about this before. I've seen so much evidence during this election season to suggest that the establishment wants Kamala Harris to win, that I'm of this mind. If they were fake, why would the FBI confirm that they were real? Right? Because they've already put him on trial. They've already prosecuted and convicted him. So if this was something that he orchestrated himself, I believe that evidence would have been brought to the forefront and he would have been brought up on more charges. Now, if this is something that was fake, then the only reasonable thing to conclude is that there is a bigger establishment that is working in conjunction with the Secret Service and the FBI to make it appear to be real to the American people. Because there's no way that if that was fake, he was able to orchestrate it by himself without compliance. And if that's the case, then you got to ask why. Do you understand? So I don't know. There's so many conflicting variants going on. If it was fake, though, which I'm not saying it is, I'm saying I don't know. He did not do it by himself, and the government is involved in it. I'm done with the Dems. I hope they lose so we can punish them. But see, you got to get out of that mindset too, Jamal Johnson. And I know, I know that it's easy to get frustrated and be angry and want to just show people. There are a lot of people who are going out and they're going to vote for Donald Trump this election season, not because they actually agree with his policies and feel like he's going to be beneficial to the country, but because they want to stick it to the Dems and they want payback on the Dems, right? And I understand, because the things that they have done has been infuriating, right? But at the same time, do you genuinely feel like the Republicans are giving people something to go vote for? And if you feel that way, then go vote, go vote for him. If you feel like Donald Trump is giving you a reason to go vote for him, go vote for him. I'm not saying don't go vote for Donald Trump, but I'm saying we got to do things with the right intention. We got to vote for something, right? We got to vote because we feel like somebody is truly about us. not because we're voting from a place of lack and fear and people brainwashing us or to get back at people. Look, I'm gonna show y'all this. You got Kamala Harris sitting down with the Shade Room. Now, you won't sit down with Time Magazine, but you sitting down with the Shade Room. The Shade Room. Not knocking the Shade Room, but this is a celebrity gossip site. You know, it doesn't necessarily have the same prestige that a Time Magazine has. I would think you would much rather go interview with them because you reach a broader audience. You know what I'm saying? But all she want to do is pop up on the Breakfast Club and the Shade Room because she can manipulate these people. She can give them a list of questions they can't ask her beforehand and dictate the amount of time she sits down with them. She can dictate the whole thing from start to finish. So she's going where she can play in these people's face, and she's going where she can target us. And I'm over it. I want to get into these comments and then show y'all something, and then I'll be done. Thank you. Yes, y'all hit the like button. Yeah, I agree. No more lesser of two evils doctrine. No, we got to get that out of our head. Evil is evil. Give me something I can come to the table for. That's just like a lot of people were getting on Ice Cube because he was saying we shouldn't be voting for the Democrats in this election because they haven't given us anything. That's not how negotiation works. It's like we're dealing with these people from an already weak position, from a place of lack, like we have no leverage. We're basically telling them it doesn't matter what you do to us. It doesn't matter how many promises you make and you don't keep them. We're still going to give you our donations and we're still going to give you our vote. What reason do they have to change? That's not how people work. Do y'all understand? On a micro level, human to human relationships, that ain't how that work between you and your mama. That ain't how that work between you and your daddy. That ain't how that works between you and your cousin, uncle, sister, boyfriend, husband. That ain't how that works. What makes y'all think that it works on a world stage? What makes you think that it works with the presidency? What makes you think that it works in elections? It doesn't. And that's the problem I have. People negate the human psychology that goes into politics. It's all about polls, studies, games, what the mainstream media said, fact checkers. It's all about that. But then when we go deeper and we try to talk about it as a layered topic, people can't discuss it at that level anymore. They can't even comprehend. He's corrupt and a shark billionaire. He'll give unlimited weapons to Israel. I agree that will happen. I believe no matter who gets in that office, our money is going to Israel. Our money is going overseas. Yes. And that's a topic that is kind of like I'm nervous to touch. Why can't we critique them? Why are we giving them money? What is going on that we don't know? That whole situation is weird. You will have politicians, for example, RFK, who I pretty much like every position that he stands on. You will have politicians who seem like they're so about the people and for change. Until we talk about that country over there, everybody agrees. What do they have over us? What is going on? Give more tax cuts to the rich, but he's authentic and will do a little something for Black people. I'm so tired of that. We have to get off that path. Exactly. If genocide, migrant crisis, war, and ignoring Black people, natives, and middle class are the lesser of two evils, we have an evil country. Exactly. Right? If choosing this is the lesser of two evils, we got bigger problems. We got bigger fish to fry. We need to be questioning why the bar is in hell. Our money will continue to go to I'm trying not to say this country, but the country that starts with the I, because the U.S. corporation is run by small hats. Okay. You know, on YouTube, you can't even really talk like we can't even talk like that. Because if you talk like that, then you're advocating for a whole people. They make it seem like you are Hitler, right? They're making it seem like you're advocating for that whole people to be wiped out when we're talking about power and we're talking about people at the top, right? Because they are our ally. We got other allies that we critique, Nicole. Hey, good to see you here, sis. We got other allies that we critique. We do. We do. We don't step for Great Britain the way that we step for that other country. Do you understand? Uh, we can critique, like you can critique Great Britain and still have a career. You can. You critique that other country, like Candace Owens got up and they fired her. You can critique that other country and it's up for you. So, and that's what I'm saying. There's something weird going on that is specific to our relationship with this country that the average person has no clue about. And I want to know why. Okay. Okay. Hey, Center Star. This is my first time seeing you here. Welcome. The unmentionables. Yeah, we're going to call them the unmentionables. Good. Thank you. I'm going to use that. The unmentionables. Because you can't talk about them. It's like Lord Voldemort. He who must not be named. Okay. And that's sad. In the country of free speech, you can't even name it. Yep, Kamala is trying to ban freedom of speech on the internet as we speak. But guess what? It's not Kamala. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, she's the puppet for it. And you got a lot, again, this goes back to like a lot of these Dems who were like, oh, freedom, we're protecting freedom. They don't want to hear free speech. They don't want to hear people that oppose their views give their opinion. They won't even listen to it from their side. But it's a bigger establishment at play. For example, here on this platform, you know, she don't have no control over this platform as a business. This is a private business, right? And they push agendas and they censor to the max, right? But they have a lot of power. All right. Lastly, guys, I'm going to show y'all what inspired this live that really pissed me off. So I told y'all I was on a job site. Let me make sure y'all can see this. You might not be able to. I hope y'all can see it. Maybe blow your screen up as much as you can. I'm going to read from this. These are job positions. So this is from Movement Labs LLC. One of the first position is stop cabinet appointments. A company is looking for a VP stop cabinet appointments to lead initiatives against harmful cabinet appointments in the event of a Trump presidency. So the man ain't even the president yet. We haven't even seen his cabinet appointments. But there's a company that already wants to hire people to lead social media campaigns against his cabinet appointees. Like, this is the job that you would be hired for, not even knowing who these appointees are. Maybe they are good people. Maybe they'll be effective. But just because it's Donald Trump, we're going to pay you to slander anybody that he puts in these positions. This is an actual job. Key responsibilities: develop and implement strategies to halt harmful cabinet appointments in key states. The assumption is that they're harmful just because it's Donald Trump. Engage stakeholders and grassroots. So grassroots is the regular people. So basically, they want people who work for this company to infiltrate regular people to try to sway our thoughts and opinions. And the election hasn't even happened yet, and they're hiring for this position. When something is tied to money, a person that don't even believe the initiatives that they're pushing is going to do it because their paycheck is tied to it. Let's continue. This same company, Movement Labs LLC, senior leader align the streets. A company is looking for a senior leader align the streets to build and lead a progressive movement against far right ideologies. Key responsibilities: lead and develop a national progressive movement, build coalition, and collaborate with various stakeholders. Do y'all know what a stakeholder is? But most of the time, when they say stakeholders, collaborate with people who have money invested in it. So basically, you want to work on behalf of people with money and try to infiltrate the people, grassroots, working class people, to make it seem like this is a working class movement. Design and executive branch. Sorry, and executive outreach. Sorry, and execute outreach. I'm sorry, this is far. I can't see. I need to get some glasses. All right, I got another one. On this same website. Okay. When I saw this, I said, I gotta speak up. I gotta do a live. All right. Again, this is a real website, guys. Virtual vocations. Uh, from this same page. And this is a remote job. We're looking for state leads to spearhead the Stop Cabinet Appointments program in Maine, Alaska, Iowa, North Carolina, and Utah. If Trump wins, stopping his cabinet appointments will be our key priority. You don't even know the appointees yet. You don't even know. But you already want to try to put a stop to it. To ensure the worst Trump tendencies cannot advance. State leads will focus on stopping Trump cabinet appointments from being approved. The ideal candidates are well networked and have a deep understanding of their state political landscape. Your primary focus will be develop state-based strategies, organize mass outreach efforts, and leverage existing networks in the state to influence key stakeholders, to influence key decision makers. After the cabinet fights, the roles might extend based on performance to new programs. You can't make this ish up, man. You can't make it up. There is an attack on our minds, right? And again, this is what I found. I'm not saying that there are not programs that exist on the other side of that by the Republicans. Matter of fact, I'm sure there are. Right? I'm sure there are people who are setting up jobs, who are lined up and ready to and willing to try to attack Kamala. You know what I'm trying to say? This goes on both sides, but y'all got to understand this is propaganda. You got to think for yourself. Okay, don't let these people gang you. And honestly and truly, guys, that's really all I have to say. If you're here right now, please hit the like button. If you've been watching me for a while, go ahead and subscribe. Y'all know I'm trying to grow. I'm on the road to 1,000. If you need any coaching dealing with a relationship, you need somebody to put you up on game. If y'all watch my old videos, y'all know I ain't over here depressed and behind no relationships or nothing like that. I'm living in Colombia. I changed my life for the best. And if you need somebody to help you and to hold you to that accountability piece and help you work out a plan, send me an email at thepassportsis@gmail.com. I do $30 an hour coaching sessions. I'm not out here trying to get everything I can get from you. No, like you can talk to me for less than what you can talk to a therapist, and you're actually going to get useful information, applicable advice. Great line, Mariah. You helped me get through my first hour of work. Okay, good. Because, yeah, I know being on somebody's clock be tiring, okay? The Dems right now are the more corrupt party. They are so draconian. They diss Trump about democracy while they shoo Kamala in. Say Trump won't accept election results, but he'll when she lost. Okay, I get what you're saying, though. Blame Russian interference. Yep, that's true. That's true. It goes on both sides. This whole election denying? And like, can we just be real about the fact that like election rigging is a real thing? It's a real thing. And both parties will use it to their advantage when they can. Yes, again, shoot me an email at thepassportsis@gmail.com. Please do Court of Thorns book review, please. I'm gonna have to read it first, DJ Batman, but let me write it down. I'm gonna put it in my notes. All right, and I got that down. God bless you, gorgeous lady. Love your program. Bless up, chat. Oh, thank you so much. And I truly appreciate everybody that tunes in to watch me. Y'all could be definitely be doing something else with your time. Y'all don't gotta listen to me. So I really do appreciate that. And I look forward to growing with y'all. Again, hit the like button on the way out if you haven't. And I will see y'all tomorrow at the same time, 12:05. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day.